What better place to talk about this than the cold, wintry New England forests? Now, I want to start this video off by saying that I'm well aware that substance abuse is multifaceted and there are different kinds of substance abuse, and I'm not even necessarily talking about it from an addiction standpoint today. I'm just talking about it from the standpoint of some external stimuli that you voluntarily go after to try to achieve some kind of creativity or some kind of uniqueness even. I mean, we see that in modern art all the time. And I think that the term substance abuse is funny to start because, I mean, people get this connotation that it's just drugs, but in reality, there's a lot of things that people can abuse, and it's a substance. So I'm going to get into all of that in this video, but I just wanted to lay that groundwork before I really get into this. The best analogy that I've ever heard for the value of intoxication from substance abuse is the walls go down, but the floor is stone. You can explore the surface world endlessly, but there's no chance of getting below it. This is why most people don't turn into Michelangelo once they puff the joint. Anyone can scramble their circuits and just marvel at the static that comes out, but very few can combine an internally derived intoxication with the dedication and tertiary skills required to transform it into a state that can have the same emotional message interpreted by the sensory system. What I mean is, most emotions come as a result of an external stimuli. They come up from the depths without a moment's notice. Isolating a specific emotional state through art allows people to pursue certain emotions voluntarily, which gives them a sense of control. This is not something that can be accomplished when the intoxication's influence is fleeting. So, let me explain. Substance abuse's damage is done because it intoxicates aimlessly. It creates something with fuel from an arbitrary external source instead of the intoxication coming from within the individual. Arbitrary external intoxication is always hollow, shallow, and especially fleeting. Intoxication from the inside is a tree that has deeply embedded roots. Self-intoxication can be recalled either in person, so self-induced, or at the very least in memory. So, my point here is, if you're an artist, you will appeal to a certain crowd when you stay on the surface. That's because the masses are so numbed nowadays that they can't feel much of anything. And maybe it has something to do with the fact that roughly 70% of Americans are on some form of prescription medication, and 50% are on at least two. And so many have horrendous diets fueled by big ag, the literal food equivalent of a puppy mill. Maximize profits while minimizing overhead with no care for their product. But hey, they give the people what they want. Not to mention that superficial emotions are relatable to everybody. So we go back here to a morally bankrupt culture that doesn't know how to close its ears to the voices most easily heard, no matter how much they mislead people. But people don't even know what the path looks like anymore. So how can they possibly stay on track? So there is a place for certain people who can turn surface emotions into something digestible, but the great artists pull their inspiration from the deepest depths of their being. They're most well acquainted with what they're discussing, and it's something that's clearly gripped them enough to be in the forefront of their attention. They felt a strong and burning reason to understand as much as they can about those parts of them that inspire. And whether the actual exploration is something voluntary or involuntarily isn't really all that important. And these are also the people that create art for themselves and then simply put it out there for others to derive inspiration from. Their success isn't based on their drive for success. They don't seek it out. It comes to them because they carved out the most real parts of their being in an individualistic yet relatable and productive way. And it's relatable because people feel it's true. It's not slammed into their face. Their attention is drawn to it, and it's up to their own eyes and ears to accept it. This is why the influence of moral preachers is fleeting, but that's for another video. From the start, people knew that this channel was more for unfinished or deeper philosophical discussions, and I think that I explained pretty well why I feel that creativity that sprouts from substance abuse is more limiting than it might seem on the surface, and the real root of useful creativity comes from the realist parts of people, not the parts that just get temporarily distorted. The saddest part is so often substance abuse isn't to become creative. It's to quiet the part of your head that's hell-bent on killing you. Demons in the dark are real, but you're only scared if you're aware of their presence. Once that's numbed out, they're still there. It's just that now they can operate without you watching them. It's kind of like the Iran deal. This is why you deal with problems as cobwebs instead of waiting for them to become chains. Flush out the demons with light and strength instead of just diverting your attention. Substance abuse is a palliation, but I've made my point well enough. I'll leave you with some people that I think are particularly skilled, aware, and dedicated to expelling their demons, and they have a real handle on the situation. Keep in mind, there are many people other than who I'll name, but these are people to check out in case you want to get a tangible sense for what I'm talking about. So the first person that I'll name is NF. Now, I hate rap, but only like 99.99% of it. NF is one exception. A good song to start with is Why. Read the lyrics as you listen to it and think about what Pennywise represents in the movie It. Now, the next person that I'll recommend is the only other person that I don't mind rapping, even though he doesn't do it that much, and I wouldn't even call him a rapper, and that is Tyler Joseph. Many might know him as one of the two guys from 21 Pilots, but his individual work is fantastic too. A good example, it would be Drown, Just Like Yesterday, Car Radio, and Kitchen Sink, for starters. And there are many others, of course, but now the last person that I'll name is Edgar Allan Poe. And many are probably already familiar with his work, but some of his work that illustrates my point in this video is The Fall of the House of Usher, The Portrait, and The Telltale Heart. So that's all I got for this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.